Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Journey Midweek Connection. Glad to have you on here. I wanted to let you know that this coming Sunday is Father's Day, and we get the chance to celebrate dads in our services. But also, I want to make sure that you're there because this coming Sunday we have a special guest that is going to be speaking at all three of our services. His name is Gil Blanco, and he is a missionary down in Mexicali, Mexico, where we go and serve and are partnering with he and his family and his church and the work that they are doing down there. And you're going to be hearing about our next trip coming up in November, that we're going to be taking another group down to serve and to love on the people in Mexicali. And Gil, like I said, is going to be coming this Sunday, and we're going to hear more of his story and hear from him and his passion for the Lord. And so I don't want you to miss that. Again, he'll be at all three services, so we would love to have you there. Now, for our midweek connection, there's been a question that Jesus asks in the Gospel of John that has been in my mind for years. Every time I read this story, I come to just a halt every time that I read this question. Let me set the stage. It's John chapter 5, and Jesus is ministering in Jerusalem. And he comes to the place of the pool of Bethesda. And there, he encounters this supernatural phenomenon that's been happening, where there are those who need healing. And there are a lot of them, sick, paralyzed, blind, invalid people who've been sitting around trying to get into this pool that is supernaturally stirred from time to time. And the first one into that pool ends up leaving it healed. And there, Jesus enters into this place, this messy, probably smelly, heart-wrenching place. And he goes and he encounters a man that has been, what we find out, an invalid for 38 years. I can't imagine being in that place for all that time, desperately trying to be healed, desperately trying to be made well, yet no one there to help him, and he's not able to get into the pool on his own, at least not quick enough before someone else beats him into it. Let me read the story for you, and in this, you're going to hear the question. It says, sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem near the sheep gate a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda, and which is surrounded by five covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me get into the pool when the water is stirred. While I'm trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me." Then Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." And at once the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. Now, in this story, it's an incredible miracle of this man who has been suffering and lonely for 38 years, unable to do most things on his own. And Jesus comes to him, shows grace and compassion, gets face to face with this man, and doesn't rely on whatever is happening in the pool, but instead in the power of God that is in him to bring healing to the man. But before he heals him, like I said, he asks a question that every single time I read it stops me in my tracks. He asks him, "Do you want to get well?" And I always stop at that because it's like, of course he does. He's been in this place for 38 years. He's been paralyzed. He's been unable to do anything on his own. He's not been able to have a job. He's been separated from his family. Of course he wants to be made well. And every time I ask that question, I'm like, Jesus, why would you ask him that? And that's exactly the right question. Why does Jesus ask him that? You know, something that we learn about ourselves in our humanness is sometimes we don't want to be made well. Even though we might say that we want to be well, our actions and our habits and the things that we do don't actually back that up. And I'm not saying that that's the only reason that Jesus asked him that. But we do see him make some excuses That instead of just responding with a yes, he says, well, I can't actually get into the pool and someone beats me there every single time. And how often do we make excuses for why we aren't made well? And I'm not talking about just physical healing. I think this question could be asked in so many different areas of our lives that we want to see freedom in, that we want to see healing in, that we want to see completion or just progress in our lives. And we say we want something, but then the question, do you actually want to be made well, might expose the reality that we don't. And for us in our spiritual lives, obviously a desire to know Jesus is at the core of our following him. But he could ask us the same question when we're seeking freedom from sin, when we're seeking healing from certain things, when we are seeking the fullness of life that he offers. He could ask us the same question, well, do you want to get well? And in our Sunday school answer, it would be, of course I do. But so often, many of us hold on to sin that's in our lives, where we're just used to it. We've gotten so accustomed to having that sin in our life that we can't even fathom our life without it. Or we want to hold on to control, or we want to hold on to our pride, or we want to hold on to fill in the blank so often that our actions and our habits and our sin show that we might not actually want to be made well. I want to challenge us today. If there's something we're holding on to, if there's something holding us back from a vibrant, real, amazing relationship with Jesus that spills out of us for the people around us, if we are holding on to something, the question Jesus is asking us today is, do you want to get well? And if you do, let's let go of those things. And let's allow him into those deep, dark places in our lives and allow him to bring freedom in those places too. Because he desires to clean us up and use us. So let's step into that place with him. Let's be made well and whole in him. Have a great week.